Prince William, has just had a huge success over in Brazil. We know that because we've seen the pictures, we've seen the very much positive press, and I thought he looked very statesmanlike. I don't know about you, I'll just share this with you, but when you see the grey flecks in his beard, it just make you feel a bit old, doesn't it? Because you just see him as youthful, as young, and you think, no, how come you've got grey flecks? You can't have. You've got to be eternally young. It's like the pop stars, isn't it? Madonna, Cher, Lady Gaga. No, we can sort of put on a few pounds and look a little bit different. They have to remain that particular image. However, what's interesting about this particular story, what I wanted to share with you, is the fact that we have this story going around that President Trump and Prince William, well, they see eye to eye, they're the best of friends, and consequently, he's got great thoughts and admiration for him. He has, but then there's this problem. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good to see you, chums. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome, one and all new subscribers. And I'm glad you enjoyed the video about the BBC and the woman speaking out about pregnant people against pregnant women. It's ridiculous. It's just, I'm glad she said it. Absolutely ridiculous. If they want to, it's a bit like the comedian Eddie Izzard. They refer to him as she. He's a man in a frock. End of. If he wants to dress like that, that's not a problem for me. Great many friends who've been very successful dressing as women in acts. Paul O'Grady, the wonderful and brilliant Danny LaRue, who was a female impersonator, not a drag act. Eddie Izzard is a man wearing women's clothing. He can call himself Susie or whatever he wants, but that's the bottom line. Any news organisation that refers to him as she is as nuts as he wants to be. End of, right? Here's where this is interesting because, as you know, President Trump has been at the back of a lot of fake news. Consequently, the BBC, if I was in Trump's shoes, I really would be looking at the serious sharp pen of a lawyer, but there you go. But what's interesting is we're often told that, of course, President Trump and Prince William got on incredibly well, which they did, if you think about it, because they met in Paris over a year and a bit ago now and seemingly bonded very well. And he spoke very highly of him at the recent second state official banquet in Windsor Castle. But what's interesting is Prince William, according to an excellent source, was trying to turn the thoughts, as it were, of the President of the United States to join him as one of the world leaders out in Brazil, particularly for the climate change and all of that sort of stuff. Now this, as you know, is certainly not something that President Trump really adheres to. According to the White House and people that I've spoken to there, he's very aware of climate change, keeps an eye on it, but the bottom line is doesn't want to be associated with spectacles like this, particularly as he pointed out from the White House, and this is on record, that, there you have all of these world leaders flying in on private jets, jollies, emissions, whatever you want to call it, footprints, everything just to tell you not to have your summer holiday. And this is actually not working very well for Prince William over here in the United Kingdom. He's getting a lot of backlash on social media. Again, very, very difficult. None more so than being sat next to the British Prime Minister. I told you recently, Keir Starmer is desperately trying to align himself with the popularity of William, and just by being in the same picture is not doing his credentials any good. But the bottom line was that William, apparently wrote to President Trump saying he'd very much like him to attend. And according to that source, very nicely, President Trump wrote back and said, he's rather busy, as you can imagine, running the world's biggest states, and consequently didn't have the time, but wished them well. And perhaps in future they may do something on Zoom. Right? And again, you have to say allegedly. But really, I can understand why William wanted Trump there, because the bottom line is having the President of the United States would have had some sort of gravitas, given we had other big places like China simply not attending. But according to the White House source that I know very well, they basically said it's not something that he sees as a major problem at this given time. But the bigger issue, according to that source, was that President Trump felt it was hypocritical having all of those people flying thousands and thousands of miles to tell the rest of the world what you could basically tell them in an address or in a Zoom call. Now, where do you stand on that? I'd really love to know. Neil Sean, Kensington, London.